Days 44 and 45 of my trip around the 88 108 temples of Shikoku pilgrimage. Day 44 was pretty rough. It started off by my going in the wrong direction. I input the wrong place into GPS to find the temple and went a mile in the wrong way. Then I visited Kobodaishi's birthplace, which was a huge temple, very interesting. I could spend several hours just exploring all of it. It's so large and widespread. The whole city basically emerged around this birthplace of Kobodaishi. I then went and visited bangai number 17, which is a lake that Kobodaishi apparently helped engineer. He probably didn't really engineer it as much as was sort of the construction manager and raised money and got the whole thing done. So he's very famous for having constructed this irrigation reservoir lake. So that's where the bangai was. It was hard to get to, just in terms of it was always along a highway. It took me about 2.5 hours. On the normal Ohenro path, there are always places to break. On this, there was no place to break. I could stop anywhere, but there's nowhere to sit, and it's in the sun. So I was trying to find some place to break, and I didn't. And I pushed on for about 2.5 hours, and then was just exhausted. And the rest of the day was one of just exhaustion, because I think I went a little too far without feeling up properly. Coming back was pretty brutal. I missed the inns with 2 meals. I've been staying in a lot of business hotels, so at the inns you get to talk to other people. Like tonight at dinner, I was talking to a gentleman, and it's kind of nice to have sort of that camaraderie, whereas at business hotels, I'm often eating in my room alone, not talking to other pilgrims, so it's not quite as engaging with people. It was a hot, gray day along highway with trucks barreling by, so that also enhanced kind of this day of exhaustion. Somehow I made it back. I just kept on going, but it was just really dragging for about 5 or 6 hours. I left the lake, I was heading back, I was going to find lunch. I remember about an hour from the lake, there were lunch places, so I'm approaching one, and it's a Korean restaurant. I'm like, oh, thank God, finally someplace to eat. And they had a huge sign for Ishiyaki bibimbap, or hot stone bibimbap. It's like, oh, that's what I'm getting. That's going to hit the spot. And it's the regular day of the week that it was closed. So, I'm approaching, I'm getting excited, and it's closed. So then I have to keep walking. It's about another mile till I find the next restaurant, which is Udon, which was good. But it was just one of those type of days of like, oh, finally a restaurant, and it was closed. Yesterday I was really feeling I needed a day off. My batteries were just completely drained. I sort of see why people have a day off. I've been going for, the last day off was early on in the Ohenro, so I've been going pretty much 35 plus days at around 22 miles a day, and just a little bit worn down and need some days to sort of recharge my battery. By the end of the day, I think the udon I'd eaten was starting to energize me again, and I'm approaching the temple, and this old couple came out with a handmade little Jizo statue, and it sort of brightened my day. It made the last hour go by really quickly. This sort of settai of not money or anything else, but a little Jizo statue, which will definitely go on my desk at work. On the way to my hotel, there was a Moss Burger, and I just stopped there for dinner, grabbed a double hamburger and french fries and a melon soda, and wolfed that down and was stuffed. I got to my hotel. I was feeling like I think I should eat more, so I went to a convenience store and bought some ice cream, just trying to get some fat and a high-calorie food into me, and then just crashed at like 8:30. I was just so tired. Today, feeling a little bit better. Maybe the hamburger and the fries rejuvenated me, but it could also have been that it was a little bit sunnier and less gray today. The first temple was pretty cool, a cool garden, and it had a cool cannon, little sanctuary underground with a whole bunch of cannons there. So it was kind of a nice temple to start the day with. And then in leaving, I met an Ohenro. I'm thinking he's 30-something. I didn't quite get his age. He said he'd been working for an electronics company for 10 years and felt burnt out, and he had spent 3 years in China and felt like he was just a slave to his company. So it was basically, I think, walking the pilgrim to figure out what he wants out of life. Does he just want to be a slave to his company, or what is it that he wants? His pace is a little slower than mine. He's backpacking, he's camping, so he had a huge backpack with a lot of weight, but we spent the morning kind of chatting towards the next temple. This is that temple, then I'm going on my way. It's like I need to get some lunch. And hit a restaurant, looked like an Italian restaurant. They had a morning service and then lunch service, and I got there 11:15. And I was like, so can I get some lunch now? They're like, well, 11:30. It wasn't like they weren't open. They were open for coffee, bread, and morning service, but the lunchtime specialist didn't start till 11:30, so they're basically, hey, have a seat and wait 15 minutes. It's just one of those, why, I'm a customer. Being a stickler for that reminded me of earlier in the Ohenro, I'd gone to a coffee shop, and it was in the afternoon, and I was like, could I get some toast with honey, which was on the menu? And they're like, well, that's only in the morning. And I was sort of, I'm the only customer in here. There's no one else in here. If you don't have bread, you could just say, we don't have bread. But to say you can't serve toast in the afternoon just kind of was just odd. Like, it can't be that difficult to make toast and put butter and honey on it. But it was after the time, so I couldn't get served. And I was 15 minutes early, so they were like, have a seat, have a coffee, and then we can serve you. After lunch, hit a cool temple, Kokubunji. It's one of the national state temples, and it was one of the cooler ones with really old buildings and even a bell from the mid-8th century. They say it's the oldest Kokubunji bell in the country. A lot of the temples today were related to Japanese history, in particular Emperor Sutoku and his life. So I got to geek out a little bit about history, and tonight at dinner I was actually talking to a guy who just came to see Sutoku's grave. So we were geeking out about, late Heian era, Insei period rivalries that lead to the Hogen Heiji disturbances and the rise of the warrior at the Genpei War. So that was quite nice. Most of the temples have much more of a connection to Kobodaishi, which is usually a legendary connection. Today's temple had a direct connection to Emperor Sutoku. At an earlier temple, he had been assassinated, and they kept his body in a pond for 20 days to try to keep it cool before they cremated it, and then he got buried here at Temple 81. The day ended with a bit of a mess up. I've been carrying around so much liquids and extra food, and yesterday I was exhausted, so today I did not refill my water bottle. Yesterday I had refilled my water bladder in my backpack, and I had carried 2 extra bottles of drinks, and I didn't refill it today, and I was climbing a mountain, and I had 5K to go, and I ran out of water. So it was difficult climbing the rest of the mountain and getting to the temple. I'm also almost out of food, and I don't know how I'm going to get through tomorrow because I don't have enough surplus food. I think I just kind of dropped the ball yesterday through exhaustion, and this morning didn't feel like going to the convenience store, and I'm going to be paying for that tomorrow. I'm just going to fill up my water bladder with the tap water tonight, and I have some nuts in my bag that will hopefully hold me till I can get to a convenience store. At the last temple, I met an elderly couple who were driving it by car. I think she was on her 22nd time around the pilgrimage, and he was his 15th, and they were sitting there, and I'd met them earlier at an earlier temple, and they were smoking a cigarette, and they're like, hey, do you want an iced coffee? And I was like, yeah, sure, let me just go to the bathroom. So I went to the bathroom, came out, and I thought they were gonna buy me a can of coffee, but they're professional car Ohenro people. They had like a cooler with a big, large thing of iced coffee and packs of sugar and cream, so they made me sort of a fresh iced coffee, which was quite nice. And it made me think about perhaps when I retire, traveling around with Eiko in a car and being fully prepped in the car for taking nice little picnics and breaks as we visit temples and sites around Japan or the United States. Didn't come across many Ohenro today, just a few here and there, but had good conversations with Henro, which was kind of missing from the previous day, and in particular visiting bangai, you don't run into many people. So it's kind of rejuvenated me, and I'm down to the last few days, and the end is very near. And I think today I finally figured out what I want to do for the rest of my time in Japan. I do have a bus Ohenro's scheduled starting on the 15th, so looking forward to that. And before that, start walking around the Ohenro again, but maybe using some public transportation for some of the longer distances between temples.